I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the end.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kamen Riders. We're here to talk about Kamen Rider Geats episode 39. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. Joining me, as always, is my good friend Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Pretty good, Josh. I'm glad to see you right up on that microphone.
You gotta lean in real close. That's what I was doing before the show started. You gotta lean in real close.
You gotta make it sound good.
It probably sounds terrible.
Just blew out everyone's speakers and ear holes and everything else.
I'm gonna try to actually
with these shenanigans.
I told you, I think before our last recording, I told you I got an actual audio interface, so my mic can hook up not via USB now. It's all XLR all the way through, which is nice. And it has a little light on it when I talk, so it's green if I'm not clipping, and it's red if I am clipping. It was very red there, so I apologize both to our audience and to myself later when I'm editing that.
What's always my thing too, like when I edit some videos I don't know how it worked out this way, but like my computer audio itself has to be at a certain percentage. But it can't be at 100. Like 100% to me would scream like this should be the normal volume for things.
Okay.
But I need to set it for like 70.
Yeah.
For it to not be like blow out my ears all the time. But then when I play games, I have to turn the game volume down to like 5 for me to be able to like hear it normally and not have it blow out my ears.
Yeah.
So then eventually when I put the YouTube videos together, like I have to immediately downgrade all the audio or else I just basically gape the hell out of my ears and just blow out my eardrums, and it's a real mess. Audio is a real mess.
It is, yeah. I always struggle with incoming audio, like if I'm talking to someone while I'm doing something else. So like, if you're talking to someone on Discord while you're playing a game or whatever, that is always just like horrible levels, never lines up, never is the mix that I want, and like adjusting it is always so much harder than it ever should be.
I mean, I'm sure that this is why like people get paid the big bucks to actually know how to do this for a living.
Yeah,
because it does seem like a huge pain in the ass.
For sure. Yeah. I also struggle too. I had to stop using an entire mixer that I had because it would do this like electronic feedback kind of like. So if you plug, I get this over USB a lot. You plug something into a computer, like directly into your computer, because your computer has like moving parts and electronics and stuff in it. It'll send like weird feedback frequencies over the USB and then can feed back into like your microphone and your speakers and stuff. And so I had a mixer, you'd plug it in to the computer and it would just have this like low hum that you would be able to hear, and it would record the low hum, which is like pretty bad if you're trying to actually like record a podcast, just to have just this low hum in the background the whole time. And I was just dealing with that again the other night because I had a thing that I plugged in via USB to charge it, and then plugged in the like audio cable to record the thing. And I had to switch USB ports like 2 or 3 times to find one that was like not noisy. Anyway, it's a waking nightmare. I can't believe that's still a problem. Like feedback over USB in your microphone. That's like a crazy thing. That's still an issue.
Everything's unshielded. It's a free for all out there.
Yeah, and like you can't really like if you search for like shielded cable, I found on Amazon, like lots of things claim to be, but also lots of cables like don't really claim to be. It's hard to tell if something actually is or isn't, and really what that means. It's hard to tell what it even's gonna do. It's just it's the Wild West.
Love it.
Also, I find buying cables on Amazon in general to be like a disaster. Like you can't tell like what material a cable is. Sometimes it's really hard to tell what length a cable even is. Like, so sometimes it'll be like I can choose different versions on the actual product page. Sometimes they'll have separate product pages for each length. It's insane. Truly insane.
I'm going to recommend to you then, it's either Fire Fold or Fire Hold. I always forget which one it is, but they're like the cheapest, always high quality cable place I ever found. It's been like the recommended cable place since I started working in IT. So at least it would have been like 15 years ago at this point.
Oh,
but it's very cheap and very good. And they actually just have numbers and things that you can read. So like their page for like HDMI cables would say 1 foot, 3 foot, 6 foot, 12 foot, and it's very easy to figure out what's what, and it's very cheap per foot for like anything though, like USB, uh, HDMI, DVI, HDMI, all the good stuff.
Nice. I think I found their website here now. Cables, HDMI. Oh, this is perfect.
And this is not a paid sponsorship. I'm just recommending something to Josh. I don't care if anyone else goes there or not. I'm just telling Josh.
Also, so I've been dealing with this lately. So I got a synthesizer, Toby.
So you're getting the keyboards. You're tickling some ivories.
Yeah, tickling. Actually, mine doesn't even have a keyboard attached to it. I'll get a little MIDI keyboard to go with it at some point. But it's a little all-in-one unit, really tiny. It's battery powered, which is very cool. It's got a tiny keyboard on it, but all the keyboard keys also double as like other function keys and stuff. So it's like it's kind of too small to really play reasonably on there. So you do want an external keyboard to go with it, which I don't have yet. But anyway, I was then dealing with like the confusing thing with audio cables is that you can get like mono and stereo cables, and it's determined by how many rings they have on them. Are you aware of all that? How all that works?
No, that seems. If I didn't know you, I'd rather tell you that seems fake. Like that just
Okay.
seems...
So if you have a headphone cable, if you look at it, it will have a number of like typically black rings on the end of it. Like you'll have the shiny metal part, and it'll be intersected by rings. If it has one ring, it usually is a mono cable, so it'll just send like the one channel of audio. But if it has like two intersections, it'll be stereo. But then sometimes you get into three intersections, which is where you do the like it's a stereo call that also has some controls on it, like play and pause in line on the cable. And that gets even more complicated. And so like you can buy different cables, and you got to watch what cable you freaking buy, because you got to know what signal you're feeding through it. Like is this a stereo signal that I'm feeding, or is it a mono signal? And some like synth stuff does mono, and some of it does stereo. It's all incredibly confusing. I have no idea really what my input is here. I think it's probably a mono input because it's made for like guitar, but I don't actually know for sure, and I have to go read the manual.
It's crazy to read a manual for a cable. Like,
yeah,
even though this rings thing makes sense, and like visualizing what those old ass like basic stereo cables looked like, I can picture like 2 or 3 rings around the ending. It's just crazy. That's the thing.
It's interesting because it's like it's the rings are plastic, so it's literally the separation of signal that would conduct, right? So it's like, are you conducting one signal or two because there's one ring split in between it, or 3 or so on, so it is like a very like rudimentary function that it's doing, that it's providing, but like I guess kind of an elegant solution, but trying to figure it out nowadays is complicated. It's a lot to read.
These are wild times, my friend.
They certainly
are
wild
times.
Speaking of wild times, Toby, did you happen to watch? So it got released. The Hyper Battle DVD got subbed for Kamen Rider Geats. Did you check that out?
I did not, because I didn't think I was supposed to yet.
Oh, it's okay. I don't think it's a thing that we really need to like watch and like discuss as a full on review, but it's fun. You might want to watch it just for fun. I watched it. So it is. We talked about it when it first happened, before it got subbed. It is where basically they have a Desire Grand Prix that's all goofy. So they have like a dance competition, and they do a speech competition and that kind of stuff in it. And it's silly. It's the actors acting silly, which is very fun. But the most interesting part for me was they explain the wordplay / puns for each of the Kamen Rider names, which I vaguely knew.
So like Buffa being Buffalo kind of thing, or like
yes,
smarter than that.
No, that. But so it comes up in a joke because it's Buffa complaining that everyone else's name is more interesting than his. He was like, all the other names are clever, but I'm just Buffalo. Like they just took the word buffalo and chopped off the low and just gave me Buffa. But he points out that like Geats, so Geats is Kitsune, which is like fox in Japan. then they drop that to Kitsu, and then basically they add an extra like accent onto the Keats, the first part of that word Kitsu, an extra accent to turn it into Geats. So that must just be like a Japanese pronunciation difference there. But the accents they add kind of look like the sort of like kind of fox ears that he does, kind of, which I think is probably why they added them.
Okay.
So that was just sort of like a, I guess, like play on the visuals of the letter that
That's
he moves
crazy
on.
to even go that far in it, though. Like,
Yeah.
the reason I just said okay is because I was just thinking about what you were explaining to me and trying to keep up with it in my head. And it's just clever as hell then, if they're going that far with it, where it's...
It also was really nice that they put up visuals. So I think the translators did visuals to explain the jokes as they went, which is good.
That's even better.
The next one for Tycoon, they started with Tanuki because he's a Tanuki suit. They rearranged the letters in Tanuki to get Tycoon, Taikun, and then he became Tycoon because of that. And then Nago, which we've talked about before, kind of, is so Neko is cat in Japan, and the cat sound is Niago in Japanese. So you kind of merge the two of those, and you get Nago. That's where that comes from.
This is like, some of these are almost the tier of when I used to make the jokes in the beginning of the episodes of like, we should have called the show this thing, and made like kind of horrible, stupid puns. That's almost the same vibe.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of
we rearranged the letters in Tanuki, and we got Kewa.
pretty much, yeah. And then so the whole thing is Buffa complaining like all those names are cool, but I'm just Buffa because we chopped off the low, and then it's him screaming like, where did the low go? I want my low back. And then Sumi's like, damn, he noticed. But that was fun. I had like known that like some of the origins of those names, but it was cool to see it like actually spelled out how we got to those points. But yeah,
so it's like so it's in general, it's like the April Fool's episode, but better.
It's the
like
April Fool's episode, but like, yeah, exactly. It's coming from Toei instead of coming from the translator, essentially. So like, for example, Geats is in like short shorts in it, and he's like very into the dance competition. Like, I'm gonna win the dance competition because I'm a hot sexy man. It's funny. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. But like everyone's sort of like vaguely out of character because like they're all sort of like playing along with this ridiculous concept. And it's
I'm
good.
definitely
It's
I'm
good.
definitely have to watch it. Like, I know you're gonna get all crazy and pass me.
I didn't pass you. I just thought you wouldn't watch it. I thought I'd talk about it here on the show real quick. Mostly I wanted to relay the name stuff. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very like that's very Shades tier email taken care of by the show.
Exactly.
Is the best way to put it, I think.
In fact, Shade sent an email today. We can jump to that right now. And Shade talks a little bit about names in the email too, in terms of.
So here's the
thing.
So Buffa is short for buffalo, but
no. So Shade's email, he talks about Geats' final form is called Geats 9 instead of Boost Mark 9 because Geats' name is supposed to sound like Kits in Kitsune. So Geats 9 would sound like Gitsune. Geats 9, Gitsune.
You're doing a fantastic job, buddy.
Shade says it may sound like a silly stretch, but I can assure you it's official. So that's sort of like what the, I guess, pun is supposed to be there. But
gotcha.
Anywho, yeah. But yeah, Shade does send us in an email and has some first Punk Jack trivia for us. So, Toby, you remember the crowd that was listening to Punk Jack in the Punk Jack special? And we're like
very excited and very bored. I do.
Exactly. Apparently, the crowd were subscribers to the Toei Tokusatsu fan club. A few months ago, Toei posted a casting call for extras on the TTFC and telling people to bring punk rock style clothes. And if that's the direction those people got, they failed.
I wish I had that. I wish I had the video handy again.
My memory is they were just dressed completely normally.
Yeah, or like, it wasn't even really like I'll call it like Hot Topic punk. It wasn't like Hello
No,
Kitty shirts and like Nightmare Before Christmas hoodies and shit like that. I just remember like plainclothes people hanging out
yeah.
at the concert.
Because if someone tells me to bring punk rock style clothes, I'm showing up like you said, like full on Hot Topic. Like I'm having like a fake lip ring in. I've got a hoodie with like thumb holes in it, and like yeah, I'm just like I am a mall goth at that point.
Well, especially if they're giving you the opportunity, we'll call it, to be an actor
Yeah,
or an extra in something. Usually, you don't even have to be you. You can just go as whoever you want to go as.
sure.
Dye your hair, fake pierce your lip, buy those stupid like tattoo sleeve things you just put on your arms. Just get crazy.
Those are fun. I have one of those. It's very fun. I got one last Christmas. um, yeah, so that it makes sense now thinking back about how unenthused the crowd was, like, and how even the ones that were cheering, how bad they seemed at it. It all checks out.
You would think too, if you're part of the super duper fan club and you got invited to be in an episode, that you would try a little harder as well, because you would want the episode to look good, and you wouldn't want to be standing bored in the crowd while Punk Jack's singing his heart out.
Yeah, but if you're just like a random dude, like whenever, so it works with like celebrities too. Whenever a show has like a celebrity cameo, where the celebrity is not really a normal actor, but they're just like a name. Um, Even if I don't know who that person is, I can typically pick out that like, oh, that must be somebody because they're you all shit actors. like just because you want something to go well doesn't mean you're going to be good at acting. So these people probably had the correct intent that they wanted it to look good, but just suck because
They
they're not
tried.
actors.
They tried and they failed. And the lesson is just don't try.
Don't try. Speaking of actors, Shane tells us that the actor who played the DGP security team leader in the Punk Jack special also was the Blue Ranger in Goseiger, which is the Sentai that got converted into Megaforce, Power Rangers Megaforce. So that's kind of cool. Second little Toku role there.
That's a throwback to the last time I think we watched Power Rangers together as well.
Yeah, we did.
Megaforce.
We watched Megaforce. That's right. And then Geats says a funny thing about Geats Boost Mark III form. The actual buckle is basically like two buckles stuck together because as we know now, when it becomes Geats 9, it sort of flips open and becomes kind of like this wide form. So on the show, they like kind of cheat and like they make the prop small, but the actual toy is like 6 inches tall or something like that. So it's like it's this huge bulky thing if you actually get it.
So they made it more workable.
Yeah,
for real life, but not so much for us crazy kids out there.
Which I will say, like most of the time, it's nice that like what you see on the show is actually pretty damn close to what you get in the toy. Like sometimes almost exactly. Like the drivers are pretty much exactly the same thing. You might say that makes the show look cheap, but I think it's kind of cool that like it's exactly the toy you get because that's not true in nearly any other media.
Well, yeah, like the picture that you would get, or the picture they would show you if you're like watching shit. Even like I know they used to sell the Assassin's Creed wrist blade things, and this was one that just sticks out. Like obviously, not going to sell your real Assassin's blade that hides in your wrist, but from the way that it looks in the game to the way that they present it as you can buy this item to the size and quality of this giant hunk of plastic you put on your arm when you get it. It's just a there's like wild discrepancies there.
Yeah.
So if all like these things keep up, well, this is what you see on TV. This is really what you're getting. Maybe a little bit smaller, bigger. Like that seems fair to me. That seems very. There's no buyer beware or caveat emptor or whatever the hell.
Look at you busting out Latin here.
Well, it's the same thing. They're the words mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Not having the worry seems way better than getting dumb cheap shit.
I agree. And then Shade also gives us one more reason why it is Geats 9 and why we jumped from 3 to 9. So visually, if you think about that buckle, so Geats Mark III, you see 3 tails because it's folded in half. It flips open, and then you see 6 tails, right? And then you flip it over. So a 6 flipped over becomes a 9. And while you flip it, the other 3 tails sort of like flip up as well at the same time. And that's where you get your nine tails.
I guess
So
that works for the sake of yes.
yeah, no, it does. I mean, actually, yeah, it checks out. It's all good.
And even when you
Uh,
watch him, especially in the episode we're about to talk about, when you watch him do his transformations, it's very they zoom in on the buckle pretty nicely to show the whole transformation thing.
yeah,
And it does look kind of cool. Like you see him spin the tails from 3 to 6, and then like when he spins it to 6, the part that folds over like pops up. So it
yep.
does. I mean, it does work, but with that logic, he could have made it like 12 too.
That's true. That's true. She says, now on to some Toku stuff I find interesting. So Super Sentai have released their first 20 years and 20 year after anniversary movie. So Hurricane Negger, I think is how you pronounce that. So the season that became Power Rangers Ninja Storm happened 20 years ago, and they put out a 20th anniversary film. Shade says he's very excited. It's very exciting. The whole cast is returning after 20 years as well. Most of them are still pretty active in Toku, but that's kind of wild in and of itself. Like, think about the Power Rangers special that we got recently that had like 4 of the former Power Rangers in it, and like only 2 of the original.
And I feel like who we'll call the main ones didn't want to do it.
Exactly. So the fact that they actually were able to like grab the whole cast 20 years later is pretty impressive.
They just care more. They're super into the culture of this crazy show, and they're the crazy series that just seems to be ties to characters or ties to actors for life.
Yeah.
It seems like you like start when you're a kid, and then you're just constantly invited to shows as random roles or main roles or whatever.
I think that it probably is like it probably is not as like looked down upon. Maybe like I feel like here, like if you're in Power Rangers, then you want to like break out into like real TV and movies, right? Like you want to get away from your roots as a Power Ranger, or some people might feel that way.
Yeah, because people be like, "Oh, you were a Power Ranger, that stupid kids show with the monsters."
Yeah, but over there it feels more like, you just like, yeah, I do Toku. It's like because probably because honestly, it's like good money and it's like recurring work too. Like I get over to these shows and I get like 50 some episodes. Hell yeah!
Let's say like you're set for like easily like you're working for a year.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're getting paid very well for entire year of your life as this thing.
And I'm assuming these actors are getting like some sort of like licensing with all the toys and stuff. Hopefully, like there's probably like residuals from that and stuff too, and DVD sales and who knows, whatever the heck. But now there's even more reason with all the like anniversary movies and all the fan club stuff. Like, not only are you going to get like your one long season where you're going to have some good payday from that, but like if you stay good with Toei and you stick around, like they're going to bring you back for movies and specials and stuff all the time. So it's probably a good gig if you can get it, I would imagine. Shade also points out, which we have talked about in our Discord, the Disney Imagination Belt.
Yes.
Do you want to tell people about that if we haven't yet?
So when I first saw it, I thought it was specifically a Kingdom Hearts belt, and only because basically
it looks like it, yeah.
So the old Disney joke, but it's not really a joke; it's a reality. For almost as long as I remember, when Disney started putting things out on VHS, eventually things would go in the Disney Vault, which meant they were going to stop selling them for the time being and make everyone want to buy it because they would threaten to lock the film away, and it would always take years upon years for it to come back. So they've been doing this forever. So the Disney driver, or the Imagination driver, is the Disney Vault on the belt, and I refuse to think otherwise.
Yeah, because it looks like a vault door. Like it is a vault door. That
like it looks like in theory, like it looks like Scrooge McDuck's vault. It's
bank
just like
vault,
the big spinny bank vault thing. But it's supposed to be the Disney Vault. That's the joke there. So only because I've played too much Kingdom Hearts, and I always make jokes about Kingdom Hearts, I guess we'll call it the core for the belt, or the way you make it tension, or whatever we call that whole driver transition thing.
Yeah.
It's a key that goes in the side of the vault that you turn to unlock the vault, henshin, whatever you want to call it. But to me, because I'm so stuck in Kingdom Hearts world, I thought it was a key blade, and that's why I got so excited about it, completely letting it slip in my mind that you just use a key. Like it's just a key. The
A
joke
key that
is
unlocks a gate. Yeah.
yeah, it's no more than literally just the key unlocking the vault. But to me, it was a keyblade.
And they're putting out a bunch of different keys too. So like the one that they showed is Mickey, but then they're also doing like all the other characters clearly based on the outlines. So
And along
if
with
you're into that,
my favorite thing now is people doing the fan art either through AI or actual art skills and making their best recreations of Mickey as not, I guess, Mickey as a Kamen Rider, but more so like how you would make a Kamen Rider suit Mickey themed.
yeah,
And some were fantastic. Like one of my favorite ones was they made it a Sorcerer's Apprentice one that has like all the flourishes of having the robe and the hat on, but still looks like a Kamen Rider.
that's cool.
And if they ever do that, like I would be super stoked to actually see that. I'd probably actually buy a toy at that point.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, obviously, like, this is a pretty well designed little belt, and like, a lot of thought went into it. They're releasing a bunch of extra gimmicks with it too, with all the other keys. Like, is there more? I wonder if there will be more to this. Like, if we will see, a little Disney cartoon where they use the belt, or yeah, if we'll get to see some animations of common Mickey. Who knows?
I think if Mickey henshins, that'll smash like 7 of my worlds together and it'll be the greatest thing ever.
It'll be wild for you. Yeah. Yeah, I love that I get you into Kamen Rider and then instantly Disney comes out with a belt that's very Kingdom Hearts. It's perfect. And then finally, Shade is sharing with us some news about Ultraman. So Ultraman had a press conference for their newest Ultraman series, which is called Ultraman Blazar. The series will be available for free on Ultraman's official YouTube channel, both subbed and dubbed. What's even more surprising is that Johnny Young Bosch, who's one of the Mighty Morphin
He was
Power
a
Ranger
Power
Black
Ranger.
Rangers, yep, who also has gone on to do a bunch of voice acting and stuff since then, will be dubbing the series protagonist. And you and I watched the English trailer for the English dubbed trailer for this. First of all, Ultraman's awesome, and I always intend to watch more Ultraman than I do. But it's very cool because they like release pretty much everything for free on their like their channel and stuff. Like it all just gets posted up. It's all there. It's not like region locked. Like some of it's not translated, I guess, probably, but like you can definitely go watch a ton of Ultraman just for free online, which is nice.
Well, I feel like, at least from what I remember from Ultraman as a kid, I don't remember there being a ton of story. I just remember Ultraman turning big and fighting the monsters.
Yeah, like old
So I feel like
Ultraman,
you could get away with like not necessarily having it subbed.
yeah,
That's not the point of the show.
It's kind of changed like Kamen Rider has too. Like old Kamen Rider was similar to old Ultraman, where like yeah, the plot maybe is like kind of thin. It's mostly just about monster fighting, where you have the crazy guy from space who comes down and turns big, and then you have the sort of Earth force that is supporting him, helping him, being his backup, whatever is the kind of premise. But much like Kamen Rider, as the years have gone on, there have been more Ultraman series that have come out that all have different premises, all have different plots, and all like add on to the like premise in certain ways. So like it's a lot like Kamen Rider now, where like they all have their different stories, they all have their different backstories, and all just kind of built on the same framework of there's a dude, he gets big, he fights.
He does this cool little henshin motion and goes from human size to giant monster size, just like the Power Rangers did, but a little bit different.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm shocked that they're actually like dubbing it in English. Like they're going the full anime route, which is because you see that a lot now with modern anime, where they'll do the work in like the series that they think are going to be big. They'll actually do the work to get voice actors to dub it and have it release like day and date or whatever, right? Like that's a big thing you see now, and that's a big selling point on like Crunchyroll and stuff. So the fact that we're getting that for Ultraman is really exciting, and something I wish that they would freaking do with Kamen Rider and with Sentai as well, because if they did, there'd be so much bigger of an audience for it. So I'm excited that Ultraman's giving it a shot, and hope that this is like super super popular for them. I will commit to this being my entry into modern Ultraman.
There you
I,
go.
I will definitely give this a shot because the trailer looked really cool, and I'm down. Yeah, English dub, crazy stuff. All right, so Shade, thanks very much for the email. And with that, Toby, we will dive into discussing.
Well, Josh,
Kamen Rider
tell
Geats.
the people how to email us.
Oh yeah, you can send those emails to cast@commonridersucks.com. Thank you, Toby.
No problem, Josh. Back to you.
You can also, I'll take this moment here now since we, I should start saying these things up front more often, but we do have a Patreon where we do a bunch of bonus content. So you can go sign up on the Patreon for only $3 a month, and you get weekly bonus content, watch reacts, and things like that. And you get to join our Discord and chat along with us. And yeah, we think we're a good time. We think we like us. And if you watch this on YouTube, it's a big help for us if you subscribe to the channel and thumbs up the video. Both of those things are fantastic and help us in the algorithm, Toby, the algorithm that controls our lives. We need to
like the
win
DGP
favor.
producer kind of.
Exactly. It's an unknowing, blind DGP producer that controls everything and tells us whether we are good or bad. And you can influence the producer, and you can tell them that they are good. But with that, let's jump into the episode. So you and I talked about last time that where are they going to go from here? So Geats is basically God. He has the power of creation. We beat Sweru off, and now we're left with basically Neo at the end of the fucking Matrix trilogy with a hero, and everyone's lost their memories. What happens? How do we fill the next 10 episodes? And what happens here, Toby? what do we have in store for this episode?
Basically, we're just gonna restart the show again.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
For lack of a better term, we are restarting everything where there's still acceptance of the way the world has been and works, but we're just gonna make everything brand new.
Yeah. Geats is running his own DGP. He's basically God at this point. He's kept Sumi around to help him because he needs a navigator for his own DGP.
And he still refers to her as his sister.
Yes.
So he tries to at least, like, I'll say it, like, guilt her into feeling okay about what she's doing and being stuck doing this more.
Pretty much, yeah. Kawa, Buffa, Neon, Sarah, they all still have their memories, but they're not Kamen Riders anymore. And they open basically the episode not really sure how this happened. Like, they remember being Kamen Riders, they remember the great end starting, and they remember losing their memories, and then they remember getting their memories back. But they're not really sure kind of what's going on. We find out that Ace, let them keep their memories because he believes that they should be able to choose their own fates.
I do approve of, we'll call that Geats GP rule number 1. You get to make your own decisions about things. So that seems very, like, mildly respectful of him of the situation. Being like, well, this is my bullshit now. And if you guys want to hang out with me still, I guess we can. But I'm not going to just force you into being a rider if you don't want to again.
Yeah, that's the real theme of this episode. It's Geats, like, wrangling up his Avengers, basically. It's like, listen, this is I don't know if you want to go on this mission. It's going to be pretty dangerous, but I'd love to have you if you're on board. And that's, it's kind of what he's doing here. Is he's like he's figuring out his confidants, he's figuring out his people, and he's gonna use them to make a perfect world, I guess. Because we find out that's his goal, basically. So he wants to make a world where everyone can be happy. And he's going to have to...
Without bullshit, I guess, his mom.
Yeah. We find out he's going to have to do it slowly because the goddess power, when the goddess was doing it, required a lot of people's wishes for fuel. All those wishes that didn't come true. And since he doesn't have that anymore, he's not going to, prey on people. He doesn't have that wish power, so he has to go slow, like one wish at a time, take things easy.
So I took the scene that kind of ties to that is he's just eating a shitload of noodles with Sumi, which, as we know, eating food in the show is a true bond.
Yeah.
But I took it as he needs to eat a bunch of food to recharge himself, kind of like when he got tired from going to Geats 1 to Geats 2 and
Yeah.
needed like Gene's special buckle to keep him awake. I took it as the same thing. Like his internal battery ran low, just needs to hoss down a shitload of food.
Yeah, he's got to power up a little bit on food and get some calories in. Yeah, he's got a carbo load so he can go create the world. No big deal.
It seems fair. It seems like a legitimate need, I guess.
Yeah, just carbo load for creation. It's all good. But he is eating his noodles, and very quickly he is interrupted because at a nearby skate park we see a security guard who's hassling some kids, and then the security guard turns into a Giamato.
Well,
Dun dun dun.
the security guard was not harassing the kids. He walked over and said, "You kids better watch." And they said, "Why?" I said, "Because that looks cool and fun, and I want to do it too." And then he turned into Giamato.
I feel like that counts as harassment. Like, leave me alone, old man. Go get your own skateboard. I don't know what you are.
Before we get too far, I want to point out the intro changed again. And I only bothered to watch it this time because I assumed the intro was going to change again because it's a brand new show. And it did. So my forward thinking paid off.
And how did it change?
It just looks a little bit different.
Okay.
It still kind of celebrates everyone the same. The 4 main people have way cooler, I guess we'll call it like credit scenes. Like they used to have their faces next to like their DGP sign-in sheet kind of deal. And now it's just them dancing around in their henshin outfits.
I'd say, yeah, it feels a little bit more like a 90s sitcom intro now or something, if I remember right. I think we do still have the Sumi pointing the gun at Ace thing, though, right?
It is still there. I'm still
Nice.
I haven't dropped hints on that one like the other stuff. I just want that to happen. I'm gonna get so
like,
mad if that was not to end up in this show.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that they didn't remove it now, I think it's got to come up. It's got to come up. Calling it. So Sumi explains when we see this Yamato, she explains that the grand end, when it happens in a world, doesn't remove the all the Yamato. There are some that get left behind. Those that are left behind basically are the basis for urban legends and myths about evil spirits. So you leave some monsters behind, and that's how a world gets the myths about monsters, which I would buy a little bit, except for like, have you never been in a world that has like cell phone cameras before? Because those aren't going to be myths for very long.
Yeah, they're pretty much out there already.
Yeah, it's not going to be a secret. So Ace heads down to the skate park to help things out. He skateboards down to the skate park.
Of course he does, because he's a cool guy. Of course he does.
Such a cool guy. He kills the Yamato. He puts up a little bit of a fight, kind of a surprising amount of a fight, since he's basically God. But after he takes out the Yamato, a little tiny Yamato wriggles out and tries to run away.
Which was the coolest part ever. That was like definitely a twist. I guess we'll call it a twist. I definitely did not see that coming.
No, me neither. And this is about the time where Ace and Keiwa show up, and they talk to Ace. They find out, but he left them with their memories, and he asks basically if they want to be riders.
That was pretty much when he gave the speech of like, I could use your guys' help. You don't have to, but I could really use you.
Yep, if you want to come on board. Neither man really makes a decision here at this point, but they do head to a creepy tunnel to discuss their options.
Which is also weird because now Keiwa and Buffa are, I'm not going to call them best friends, but they definitely have like a new friendship, it seems like, or a new respect for each other, where they're like, yeah, we'll be the 2 normal people here still. We'll hang out in this crazy Geats world.
There's the hilarious scene where Buffa barges into Keiwa's house. He's like, he demands to be let in. He forces his way in. He charges in. He sits down on the couch and he's like, your place is surprisingly nice. weird Buffa compliments. Yeah, because they're kind of in the same boat here now, right? They're not writers. They have a big decision to make about whether they're going to be or not. Both of them had kind of big reservations about the state of being a writer, right? Like Buffa thinks writers shouldn't exist, and Keiwa kind of hated the whole system on which writers were built. So it's not just a snap decision for them. So it makes sense that they're like, they're weighing their options together because they're kind of in the same little boat.
I like that Keiwa still basically hates Geats' mom.
Yeah, just he so
Like
so much hates her.
she's gone at this point. Geats is trying to do the polite version of what she was doing, and Kayla's comments are always like, "Yeah, but your fucking mom though, man. Like,
Yeah.
no."
We even had the big scene where we explained to Kawa, like, it's not his mom's fault. Like she was held against her will. She wasn't doing this on purpose. Like she was not her fault. Kawa's still in this episode. He's just like, well, the goddess is gone, so she can't pay for her sins. Like Jesus. That dude has a rage boner for Geats' mom. But yeah, I love their little discussion in the tunnel. Buffa thinks that Ace this is Ace's way of atoning for his mom's sins. When they talk about sins, this is basically Ace like making up for those things and trying to make the world a better place and make everyone happy.
And at that point, it seems legit. Buffa seems like he's onto something.
Yeah. And now we cut over to Neon and Sarah. Neon is going through some big life changes, Toby. What's happening with her?
She now has a roommate and is trying to be a normal person.
Well, I'm not sure if Sarah's a roommate yet, but like Neon is getting an apartment and Sarah's helping her out with it, I guess.
I took it as they were going to live together.
I
not,
think
maybe not, but
like
at
I
least
think we could go that way. Yeah, I think it's going that way. But I think as of right now that it's not official. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
That's fine. I do think it's funny that I'm gonna say Neon was flexing her influencer bucks and seems to have no concerns whatsoever about how money works or what she should spend on things.
Well, she both has influencer bucks and then she has family fortune as well.
See, you're saying that too. And I was talking to the game navigator earlier who gave that same defense you just did. And I don't know if her parents who never wanted her to run away or be outside of that house would let her use that kind of money.
Like every scene we see her in, she's shopping, right? Like if you, every scene where like Neon's not Kamen Riding, she's out at the mall with like a whole bevy of bags. Like I think all she does is shop. I think that she has
but she's famous.
I think she's been spending daddy's money is what I think has been happening here.
I don't know. We can't confirm that. I guess we can't.
I do think she probably makes good money on her own too.
Yeah, she's an influencer, Josh. Have you ever seen these people are all fucking millionaires? They say, "What's up, everybody? Let's open some Pokemon cards. Give me all your cash."
That's how it works.
Yeah, I wish someday.
I'm speaking to you right now from my influencer mansion. But no, I think it's both. I think that's why she like her. I think her upbringing and stuff too definitely leads to her not understanding that like, oh, you have to go buy furniture. It doesn't just get delivered with the house. Okay, that makes sense.
When it was what I would consider a very nice sized apartment. Like I've lived in way smaller apartments than what you just got. And it was funny because the landlord was like, "Okay, so we're gonna go take a look at it. We're about to walk in the front door now." And Neil was like, "Oh, we'll just buy it. Don't worry about it.
We'll take it."
And he was like, "Oh my God, this is so great." And Sarah was like, "This isn't how life works. You shouldn't just do that." And Neil was like, "Meh." And now she has an apartment.
Yeah, I'm good. It also wasn't clear whether she was renting it or buying it too. I think she maybe was buying an apartment even.
See?
But baller. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's very baller. But yeah, it's kind of cute. I like that the girls are becoming friends, even closer friends. It's very cool. And speaking of cute moments, Toby, Punk Jack is still around, and he is willing to help out. He's back. He can't get paid except in happiness that he generates for himself. It was a very cute moment between him and Geats where they do a little fist bump and they're bros now.
Yeah, from Punk Jack seeming like kind of the worst in the beginning to probably the nicest normal person on the show. Like Keiwa's nice, but he's goofy ass Keiwa. Punk Jack's just like neutral. He's just neutral good.
Yeah. I feel like for all of Keiwa's talk about like wanting world peace and stuff, like Keiwa's not as selfless as he wants you to think that he is too. like I feel like Punk Jack is really the actual selfless one. In reality, like he's the one who now is like, yeah, whatever. Like I should have gone to the future with the rest of the idiots, but I left them behind so I could keep helping you old people in the past with, my old life.
I actually decided you guys were okay, so I'm going to hang out a little bit longer just to help.
Yeah. And Punk Jack says that he is basically, he says he's on the case of on the trail of the staff. So I think that Punk Jack is going to be the thread that like leads us to more confrontation with Sweru as well. And then yeah, we get a little bit of that at the end of the episode too. But yeah, Punk Jack still around and just budding it up with everybody. I like it. Ace and Sumi go look for clues in the Yamato garden, which I found very funny. Just like, yeah, let's go head out in the woods and figure this stuff out. We got to figure out why there's tiny little Yamato. They see a person in the woods, but they don't really know who it is. Around this time, basically everyone gets a chance to see a mini Giamato. So Keiwa sees one and kind of gets in a fight. Neon sees one as well. Geats shows up and with Neon kind of is battling the Giamato around her and stuff too.
And the most impressive, at least for all these parts, the most impressive part of it was they're all fighting as if they're Kamen Riders, just without transforming. So they're all in just base ass clothes with their way more limited than Geats fighting skills, all trying their best to still take control of the situation, help people. You can see them all have their moments of maybe I should just become a Kamen Rider again.
Yeah,
but they haven't yet.
Yeah, it's cool that happened. Like yeah, like they're all still heroes. Like that's kind of neat. Keiwa and Neon especially just like yeah, they're still good people, still heroes, still want to save people. Whether they're writers or not. Very cool. And then a couple things happen kind of tangential to the mini Giamato stuff happening. So the first one, Toby, is that Neon's dad sees the Giamato report on TV, gets mad about it because the government should be covering it up. He calls his government contact and be like, "What are you guys doing? This is your job. Cover this stuff up." And the guy's basically like, "Yeah, it's not my problem anymore." And you better start getting rid of some evidence because lo and behold, Papa Karama gets raided. The police show up and raid Neon's dad, basically for his ties to the monster attacks. So he's going down. He's the scapegoat, is what it seems like.
It's all his fault.
Yeah. And then also kind of what's happening at the same time here while Keiwa's fighting, he runs into Kekura. Kekura shows up, and we find out that Kekura is still in the world, despite the fact that the gate closed, because his wish, right at the very end there we saw, was that he gets to stay in the world until he gets his ideal laughs. So he basically he calls it a visa. He bought himself a visa to be able to stick around and see Keiwa become a Kamen Rider.
I appreciate that they did the best way they could to keep it all in universe and make sense. Like in episode 2 ago, they had Baroba and Kekura had their magic wishes we never saw. They just made wishes and walked away. And now they both come back and they're like, yeah, I'm still here because I wish to stay here until I got my quote unquote ideal moment. Because they both want their own ideal moments, we'll call them, just different times.
Yeah, we see Buff after this, or we see Baroba after this, who runs into Buffa, and yeah, hers is like I think like ideal suffering or something. Like she wants to see human suffering. So yeah, they're here until they get their like perfect thing that they're looking for. So it's a good excuse for them to still be here in the world despite everyone else having to leave. And yeah, Kekura's clearly here to throw some wrenches in Keiwa's happy life. And similarly,
just wants to fuck around with people.
Yeah, I think Baroba really likes messing with Buffa, like really like screwing with him. Then, of course, Toby, we find out that we're kind of back at the Giamato lab. We see a hooded figure, and he is working on some mini Giamato. He's got him in a little glass, I guess, aquarium or terrarium there.
That was actually my favorite part of all this. Like, if I could have a Giamato terrarium, I would do it in a heartbeat.
It'd be pretty cool. It'd be pretty dangerous, I would imagine. One just jumps at your chest and you become Giamato. Seems pretty bad. And then, so the person in the little hood declares themselves the Jama God person behind the Parasite game. Did you know, watching the episode, who this person was?
So I kind of thought it looked like demonic Pidgey.
Okay,
but I don't think it could be.
It
Right.
is Pidgey. It is
I fucking
Daiichi.
knew it. I'm a genius because I figured like I didn't think they were gonna bring like a new actual actor into the show now. So my instinct was it was Pidgey.
So I watched this, and I watched it on my laptop. Like, I'm not like taking notes or anything first time through. And I watch it, and I'm like, who the hell was that? Like, they present it as like I'm supposed to know who he is, and I'm like, I have no idea because the hair's different. Like Pidgey, for me, his whole thing is like he's got the hair in the eyes, right?
The
Like
mullet and the glasses.
exactly. So like that's Daiichi, and then I see this person who's like doesn't have bangs and has got this face paint on, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. This is just a new person. I don't know. And then I start like reading some people's thoughts and stuff online. I looked up to figure out if like, because I was assuming the way that they present it, it's someone I'm supposed to know. So I'm looking it up to see like, who is this person? Turns out it's friggin' Daiichi. And I really confirmed my face blindness, I think is really what I did here. Because I went back and watched it after that. And I can't for the life of me see that as Daiichi. I can't do it. Like I closed my eyes and listened, and I can kind of make out the voice, but looking at the face, I literally in a million years would never have known it was him. But turns out
like,
it is.
Yeah, and like I'm saying, it's nothing more than I didn't think it'd be another new character. Like I was expecting it to be Archimedes or whatever his name was, Archimedes,
Yeah.
From Heaven, because he loved him so much. But when it looked like a kid, my only other mental options were Daiichi or, I guess him. Like I didn't really think they'd be
Gene, maybe.
doing new.
Yeah, I think from a story perspective, it makes perfect sense that it's him. And like, yeah, if I start thinking about that, like how to construct the story, I could have figured it out. But like, just from I'm lost in the narrative here. Like you're showing me a person. Boy, could I not tell that's who that was. It was funny. Like I was reading like the comments on Reddit for like the episode discussion. Everybody's just like, "Wow, it's crazy, Daiichi." Like, oh, okay, yeah, he's back. Like, okay, yeah, you guys didn't have any problem with this apparently. But it's cool. Yeah, I like that he's making the Parasite game. I like him honestly as like a bad guy for a few episodes too. Like he's so freaking despicable. I hate that dude. So him going like full on, I'm running a parallel Giamato game is pretty cool, I think.
So my note on this, because I wasn't 100% sure, but my note on this moment in the show says, "Is Pidgey the new gardener?" Because I wasn't 100% sure, but that's the only person I could think of.
You were way better than I. Yeah, if you
So that's
wrote
as far
the
as
name
I
down
got.
at all. Yeah. And then, of course, we are back to Ace and Neon. They just saw the little mini Giamato pop out, and Neon's like, "What's going on?" Geats is like, "This seems different." And then they get surrounded by basically zombie people who all turn into Giamato. So yeah, clearly a very different dynamic with the Giamato this time around, where they are taking people over. They're all zombies. There's little tiny parasites. So I imagine they're just gonna get like overwhelmed basically with the Giamato at some point here.
There's an easy setup for a near final scene when there's hundreds of thousands of little miniature Giamato attacking people.
Yeah,
and just doing tiny little fist punches on Geats and KO and everybody else.
Because you have to do something basically to nerf Geats, right? You have to figure out a way that you can still have like meaningful things to give him problems, and putting Giamato in real people so he can't like murder them makes sense, and just overwhelming numbers makes sense too as a thing that would be a struggle for him. So yeah, I think that all checks out as the reason to go this direction next. Toby, then our episode ends. We see Samasu, who is the old producer's assistant. She's the new producer now. She's speaking to a hooded figure who is here to complete the grand end. He seems to think that won't be much of a problem. He reveals his face. He for sure is someone we've never seen before. He's a new character coming in, another future person. And
he's the most punk jack of them all, because he has dangly hoop earrings in both ears and
an
intense face.
Yeah, he's a very future punk looking dude for sure.
And he almost looks like a mix of Geats and Buffa together. To me.
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, I'll buy that. At least his hair is a little bit different. I can tell them apart. But his thing is he intends to make Sumi the new goddess. So he's back here and he's going to complete the grand end and he's going to make Sumi take her new role. So clearly things are going to come to a head now because of that. So I think that probably paints our sort of final confrontation is that the staff kind of reinsert themselves because they're going to force the grand end to happen. Sumi's going to get put into peril and Geats is going to have to protect her, I guess, is kind of the finish. But
or she pulls the gun on Geats and says, you need to stop running the DGP or else I'm going to get stuck being the navigator, and pulls the gun. Or the goddess, where the hell she's going to be.
Or they have
we gotta get that gun scene in.
That's
true.
Gotta
get that gun scene in.
It could be like they have some sway over her or something. It's like if you don't kill Geats, then such and such is going to happen, or something like that too. Like that could be a reason to have her pull a gun on Geats. But yeah, I think the gun scene's coming. I think it's coming, especially with this now that like Sumi is going to be like super important going forward. Clearly, we're not over the fact that she has these powers. We're not going to forget that. Yeah, I think that's where we're going to go. But yeah, so how are you feeling about the like kind of new direction here in the final act?
I know they have to do it to make it keep going. I feel like we've seen this same thing 3 or 4 times now. We're just doing it once again where everyone has a little more power. So it has potential. I like Pidgey running the Giamato garden with them being little miniatures and just like absorbing into people's bodies. I want at least like 1 or 2 more cool big twists still before the end here. Yeah. As always, I feel like we're running out of time.
Yeah, I think we'll get some more twists. I like this approach in general a lot too. It feels like an epilogue. Like it feels like we got our sort of big main story. We got where like the Marvel movie would have ended, right? And now we're getting like a little like epilogue on the end of it. And I like that clearly it's going to give us the first real moment where everyone's going to be teamed up for pure heroics. Like they're not going to win a game. They're not going to have any wishes granted. They're just going to be working together to save the world. I like that. I like that they're kind of becoming like real true heroes, kind of all around, including Buffa. That's neat. And like you said, like I think Daiichi behind the whole Parasite game is going to be very cool. And I'm excited to see this new future guy transform too. I think that he will probably be kind of a badass. So
I think it's cool. We get one more brand new outfit.
Hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully we do.
Oh, and that reminded me of the funny thing I thought of during this episode. All the Geats fighting moments, like when he's doing his whole solo tier, I'm just going to guard everybody kind of thing. I feel like all of his solo moments, along with how much they show the driver and how the driver works, is just to sell toys one last time.
Sure.
For the Geats 9 stuff. Like this seemed very TV commercially out of all the times that we've seen them use toys and things.
Yeah, there's lots of like just very clear shots of him like full body, like this is what the cool toy looks like, and this is the buckle. Yeah. You got to sell those power ups. You got to get the views in while you can. But yeah, that's gonna do it for Geats 39 here. This new direction. We'll see what happens next week, which brings us to 40. Kind of brings us into the home stretch, and we'll find out what that dastardly Daiichi gets up to. Once again, if you want to send us an email, send those along to cast@kamenridersucks.com. Check out our Patreon, linked in the description of this podcast. You can check out all of our bonus content there. And of course, like I said, give us a subscribe, whether you are listening to the podcast or watching on YouTube. And give us a thumbs up if your platform allows it. So yeah, like I said, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 40. And until then, have a great week, everybody. Peace.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electric.